Today's video is brought to you by Into the AM, outfitting your passion.
I gotta go cause I got me a drop top, and if I hit the switch.
Hey, what's up everyone? One of the nicer Funko Pop items has always been the rides, but they weren't always popular. Back in 2015-16, when I first started collecting Funko, a lot of the rides were considered what we call nowadays bricks, which are Funko Pops that didn't really gain value, weren't very popular, so Funko didn't make that many. And to this day, they still don't make that many, compared to like Funko Pops or sodas, of course. You don't see Funko announcing 15 upcoming rides, right? But I have to say, as I was looking through all the rides that Funko has made, there have been very little duds, which made this list pretty hard to put together in terms of ranking, because there are so many rides that could be the number one, depending on who you ask. Now, I try to be objective as possible, but it's very hard to do because my own tastes are going to seep into my opinion on this, right? But I'm not just picking what my favorites are because I love the characters or anything like that. I'm taking into consideration how appropriate, how collectible, how desired, and how well executed it is. What does the overall product look like? Is it worthy of taking up the space that a Funko Pop ride takes in my collection? Alright, let's start with number 10. There are a couple of Stitch Funko Pop rides, but the one where he's snoozing in the rocket is my favorite one, but it could be interchangeable with one of those other ones depending on what you like the best. But I like how this one turned out. It really captured the art style. It actually doesn't even look like a pop. Not that that's a good thing, but it's a very nice representation of Stitch, and I like how these colors look together. And there's no parts of this where I feel needed more paint or looks unfinished, which you sometimes get with the Funko movie moment, rides, pop towns, anything with large pieces of plastic. Some parts look unfinished, but not on this one. It's a very nice ride. Dom's Charger from Fast and Furious is super iconic. They're not the best movies ever made, but it is one of the most popular franchises of all time, and everybody knows Dom's Charger. And it came out as perfect as a Funko Pop ride could. And for the time, even Dom had some nice details, with the Toretto on his shirt and the little cross. And in this era, a lot of the Pops were removable from the rides, and could be displayed on their own, which was a nice feature. But yeah, this Pop ride just came out perfectly. And again, at the time, it wasn't very popular. You could find it on clearance. But now, as more people come into the hobby, this particular Pop ride has become very valuable because of how iconic it is. The Dale Earnhardt Pop ride is relatively new, can still be had for cheap, but if ever there was something that should be made into a Pop ride, it's this, one of the most famous drivers of all time. And what I really like about this one is that there's enough detail on the car to make it look like a NASCAR, with all the logos and everything on it. But I like that they gave Dale Earnhardt the helmet to make him look different than his common Pop releases. I actually think all the NASCAR drivers should have their own Pop ride like this with a helmet. I think that would make a really cool display for NASCAR fans. This is just a perfect example of a perfect person and car to make into a Pop ride with a perfect execution. Personally, my favorite Pop rides are the ones of cars. To me, that's just what looks the coolest. But Ghost Rider on his motorcycle looks awesome. Lots of great details in this one. And typically, I don't care if a Funko Pop glows in the dark or not, because most of the time you're seeing your Pops in the light, and the glow-in-the-dark material doesn't look as nice as just regular vinyl, with regular paint, or even translucent flames. But this one, the skull and the flames glow, so the flames aren't translucent, but they still look really good, because they're painted well, and the skull glows green, and the flames glow orange. Back when this was released, it wasn't common for there to be multiple colors of glow in a Funko Pop. Another really iconic car is the Bandit's Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. This car was so cool in the movie that it doubled the sales for Pontiacs, and the movie became a classic. And I think Funko did a really good job with this. The Firebird looks nice and clean on the hood, nice gold paint, which looks really striking against the black. And the Bandit came out really good too. They even put chest hairs on him, turquoise jewelry. The sculpting of the mustache and the hair came out excellent. It really looks like Burt Reynolds. Like the Fast and the Furious ride, this one is also just executed perfectly. Now Thor's Asgard Tours Goat Boat is brand new, and I actually haven't seen it in person, so there's a slight chance this may look terribly executed, but I doubt it. Recently, Funko has been pretty good about the glams matching their final product, which wasn't always the case, but recently they've been good about that. So I'm pretty confident that this is going to look close to this glam. And yes, it's not iconic yet, it's brand new. Was it the best Marvel movie? No, I really liked it though. But as far as Funko Pop rides go, this is one of the most detailed ones of all time. And you're technically getting 3 pops in this ride, with Thor and the 2 goats. I mean, look at the sculpting on the goats, especially that white one, with the reins and all the little buckles, and the tongue, and a little different color for the nose and inside of the ear. Great attention to detail. And of course Thor with his armor, and the excellent sculpt on the hair, and his flowing cape conveys a lot of motion. The boat itself has a lot of intricate details, but what puts it over the top is the rainbow they're riding on underneath. It just looks awesome. This is just an amazingly detailed Funko Pop ride. If it was up to me picking my personal favorites, this would be number 1, James Bond in the DB5. And this is from the very first time the Aston Martin showed up on screen in Goldfinger, because you can see Sean Connery is wearing the brown suit jacket with a brown tie. It's what he's wearing when he's racing the Bond girl in the Mustang, which I believe is also the first time they revealed the Mustang to the world. But it's from that scene, the Aston Martin versus the white Mustang. And it went on to become the most iconic cinema car ever. Half a century later, we're still getting blockbusters with this car in it. And it looks great. Funko got all the curves of it right, the color just right. I like the sculpting on the wheels, and even the way they did Bond's eyebrow kind of raised like that, the way Sean Connery used to do it, just perfect. There have been a lot of really nice Disney Park Funko Pop rides, and I think several of them could have made the top 10, but I wanted to just narrow it down to what I think is the best one, and that is Splash Mountain with Brer Bear and Brer Rabbit. There is not one weak spot on this pop. First of all, it's 2 pops on one ride. I love when Funko does that. I like the sculpted Brer Rabbit on the very front there, on the actual log ride. Great texturing on that overall. The 2 characters look perfect. But what I really like is the way they did the water on this one. Sometimes Funko, the water doesn't come out too good. Sometimes they just make it kind of flat, clear plastic, doesn't look like water. But this really does. They did a great job with the white on the clear blue plastic to make it look like splashing water. And the sculpt is great, of course. But it was really important for them to make the water look good in this, to make it look like it's splashing, because it is the Splash Mountain ride. Just excellent. Ice Cube in his Impala. Is it as iconic as James Bond's DB5, the Bandit's Firebird, Dom's Charger? No, it's not. But the way the actual ride turned out compared to those is just better in my opinion. Funko really knocked it out of the park with this one. From the actual clear window in the front, if you notice, a lot of the rides don't have clear windows. The more you look at this, the more details you notice, like the steering wheel, the handles, the Dayton wheels on this turned out really cool. Even the printing on the handkerchief and the flannel shirt look really good on this pop. Things that they could easily mess up. And that really looks like Ice Cube. But my favorite detail of all is that the Impala is actually on 3 wheels, so he's engaging the hydraulics. Just an awesome pop. I'm glad I picked it up when it was released, because even though this is a fairly new pop, it's already very pricey. Like I said earlier, Funko just doesn't make as many pop rides as other Funko releases. But the fact that it's already over $100 lets me know that I'm not the only one that thinks this Funko Pop was executed really well, and it was a great idea to make the Impala from one of the most classic hip-hop videos from the 90s. It was a good day. Before I get into number 1, I want to talk about some honorable mentions. The rides that were really good, but ultimately I left them off the top 10. But honestly, any one of these could have easily been in the top 10. there has just been a lot of really good Funko Pop rides. But before I get into that, if you want to look nice and fresh in your ride, go to intotheam.com/collectingplastic to get 10% off some really nice, really comfortable graphic tees. Lots of interesting designs, some of them even glow in the dark. Go check them out. Make sure to use my link in the description. Now on to the honorable mentions. Orville from the Rescuers Down Under, really nice pop, like the clear lenses, and it's 3 pops in 1. Nux's car from Mad Max is awesome. It's a great sculpt. It's 2 pops. But there are parts of this that look unfinished to me. Like the wheels and the tires should have been painted maybe. I think the engine should have had a few more colors in there. Maybe some of the flags and ribbons hanging off of the spears should have been colored instead of just black. There's lots of little areas in this pop where I feel it needed some more paint, but the sculpt is excellent. Minnie Mouse on Dumbo from the Disney parks. It looks so perfect, looks just like the ride, and of course, Minnie Mouse is really cute. Valkyrie on the Pegasus, also super dynamic, really well sculpted, really well painted, could have easily been top 10. The Moana pop ride, also really cool. 3 different pops on this one. It's really cool, just maybe not as iconic to me, and maybe could have used a little bit more detail on the actual ride itself. The Speed Racer Funko ride also looks really good, but I just can't include them all. Same thing with Share Bear in the Cloud Car. Came out as good as can be. I love that they gave it a stand so it looks like it's flying, but I can't include them all. Skeletor on Panther is also really awesome, especially the flocked version. I love the way all these colors look together. It's an amazing design, and Funko did a good job with it. And lastly, another one of my personal favorites are the Alice in Wonderland teacups. Also from the Disney parks. I love how these look, but I will admit that these look cool all together. And individually, they're not as amazing. But all together, it's a really great set, and they're pretty pricey now. So obviously the public in general thinks this was a great idea for a ride, and they all look amazing. All right, now on to number 1. And for me, objectively, the best Funko Pop ride is the Witch King on the Fell Beast from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. One of the most popular trilogies of all time, even though it's not talked about as much as say like Star Wars nowadays. Those movies were a super huge deal. The ones that people looked forward to the most when those came out. And the Witch King on the Fell Beast was awesome in that. And look how cool this ride came out. What I really like about it is how heavy the armor on the Fell Beast and the helmet on the Witch King looks. It looks like heavy metal. And they didn't just give the Beast and the Witch King round pop eyes. There was a little bit more effort put in there. And there's just tons of texture all around. That all came out good. And one of the things I like is that they didn't just paint the wings one solid color, which Funko sometimes does with some of these bigger pieces. Kind of like how they did with the Nux car and the wheels and the tires just being black. But here, it's one shade of blue-green, and then on the bony parts, it's a different shade of blue-green with like a wash over it, just to give it a more realistic look. And the teeth aren't just white, they're more realistic looking. Inside of the Fell Beast's mouth, it looks kind of wet, and there's little dings and scrapes on the armor too. Lots of details. The more you look at it, the more things you notice. And like I said earlier, this isn't my favorite pop ride. It's just the one that I think Funko has made the best, that they've executed the best. And just cool looking. So for me, that's what makes it number 1. Alright guys, that was the top 10 Funko Pop rides. I'm pretty sure I left something off that you like, or maybe I included something that you don't think should have been in the top 10. Let me know in the comments below what you think the top rides are. Thanks for watching and take it easy.